You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Welcome to another episode of the Battered Herons podcast. I am your host, Chris Duran, and alongside me is nobody at the moment. This is episode number 250. For those of you that are around, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us in the chat. I already see that some of you are firing off some really cool stuff, talking a little bit about some Messi, right? Because that's kind of like the big question so far. But I guess before we talk a little bit about the game and before we talk a little bit about what's going on with Messi, I do want to mention something because I did see something out there in terms of the license plate sales. And I just want everybody to know you guys are slacking. We need like 1,400 more people to sign up for license plates. And as I mentioned that, Solana steps in, and I'm going to go ahead and bring him into the fold. Solana, how are you doing, sir? Where are you? You look like you're in a bunker.
Yeah, man, I'm actually in my. And let me know how's my audio because I didn't plug in my mic today, so I'm at my cousin's house in Uruguay. I got to give her a big shout out, Lucci. She's hosting me while I'm here for a few days, and yeah, man, we just finished having some beautiful dinner. Had a nice milanesa, which is delicious, with some French fries. And bro, I had some bad luck. My laptop broke when I got here. My screen broke, so I'm connected to a TV screen. So if I'm not looking at the camera, because I'm looking at another screen, so I'm just letting the folks at home know.
Well, that's interesting. You know what though? I got to give you an A+ for effort. So thank you for coming on board tonight, especially all the way from Uruguay, for sure.
Of course, anytime, bro.
Yeah, Miem is saying that you look like you're in space. Ikem is saying hello, Solana, and not anymore, Mr. Krabs. It says Mr. Krabs says it looks like Solana is in Chris's house. Not anymore. It's not as empty as it used to be. And Esteban, what's going on? Saying hola to Chris and Solana. So, and Skrilla, I think this might be a pretty on point comment right here. Danny is scared of Tommy. I think that might be the case. I'm not 100% certain. But, and yeah, technically we do have an international guest, me, M. Yeah. So, um, we're gonna be talking a little bit about the game coming up this Wednesday against Atlanta, but I guess just to get your thoughts, Solana, on the game, what do you think about the game this past weekend against Philadelphia? Just a kind of long story short sort of deal.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it was what we predicted, right? It's what we expected. We both said Inter Miami was going to win 3-1. And it probably should have been a little bit more than that. I thought Inter Miami played a fantastic game. They controlled most of the game. Of course, there was some injuries that happened that I'm sure we'll get into at some point. But
Yeah,
overall, I mean, the objective, the point of the game was to get the 3 points, and they got the 3 points. So obviously, that it brings the magic number down now to they only have to win. Well, what is it, like 4 games in order to
yeah,
to clinch the supporter shield. So at this point, the objective is it has to be the supporter shield. So you need to get as many as many wins as possible.
absolutely. I mean, I think at this point it's balls to the wall. We need the croqueta play for sure, and it's all or nothing when it comes to getting to this MLS Cup or bust deal. Nobody is going to let off of the gas when it comes to that.
No.
Basically, Danny had reported on Twitter saying that after last night, we just need 10 points to clinch the Supporter Shield with 6 games left to play. Uh, we need either 4 wins, 3 wins and a draw, 2 wins and 4 draws. If Columbus drops any points, we'd only need at most 9 points to clinch, which is a beautiful place to be in. In reality, like, we control our destiny when it comes to that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, absolutely, no doubt, no doubt. And I think
Yeah,
that's, this team was set up for that to control its own destiny. And over, the length of the season, they've been atop of the supporter shield standings, for as long as I can remember, Chris. And we've been
yeah,
talking about it episode after episode, week after week. What the magic number is, and as the weeks go by, fortunately for Inter Miami, the other teams keep dropping points, and
yeah.
and, and that only just makes the magic number decrease, and I know we're gonna have some nice, lovely conversations with Tommy, but we'll see if they're gonna give us 3 points or not. You think we can negotiate with Tommy and see if we can talk to the front office? I mean, we need 3 points more than they do.
I think we could work something out here. But before we bring Tommy in, El Bigote is just saying here, Solana, blink twice if you're being held hostage. So let's go ahead and bring this in. We got a game to sort of preview here. It's going to be Inter Miami against Atlanta FC, and we're going to be playing in Atlanta on Wednesday. It's a game that I really wanted to go to in person, to be honest, but unfortunately, the MLS schedule makers had to make it a stupid Wednesday. But before we go ahead and break that in, let's go ahead and bring in Tommy one time to the stage. And we'll go ahead and add him here. Tommy, what's going on, my friend?
Chris, the Herons are back.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 250 of Battered Herons and Spikes. Tommy Granada here, along with KDB over here. Chris,
Yes.
and Solana without a hat. Kind of weird, right? How are you doing, sir? Did I get it right? Did I get close?
Yes, you got it. Oh, you got it. Awesome. I am doing
I think we
phenomenal.
found a replacement. Danny can stay in Orlando. We'll just bring Tommy down here. You don't got to suffer anymore with Atlanta United, and you can win the Croqueta plate with us.
Yes, I totally agree with that, Tommy. We'll pay for the flight for you. You don't even got to worry about that. It's on the house.
I'm in.
So
we got about 20 minutes until this gummy kicks in, guys. We gotta get this going, man.
Guys, Pace Hunter says, Tommy one time. What an intro. Let's do it. So, and Mr. Krabs saying Tommy one time, more like Tommy 69th time. Boom.
Nice.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about the game that's coming up. But before we talk about the game, let's talk about how depleted our rosters are looking like right now. Right. Before I talk a little bit about Inter Miami, let's go to Atlanta real quick and kind of figure out what's going on over there. There's been a lot of players that have been, I guess, dealt, a lot of injuries. Like what's the feel like right now?
So last I left you, that we all said there was no chance that Atlanta was going to win in Miami. And then it happens, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't have Giakoumakis. Well, guess what? Giakoumakis was sold in the summer. Thiago Almada sold in this window. Caleb Wiley, right? U.S. national team, sold. They're going through full rebuild here. And they really weren't able to get too much in the window. I mean, they got a left back to replace Caleb Wiley, and they have one legit DP right now on their roster, Alexei Marinchuk, who's come in. Midfielder, impressive stats. Like when you go in, you see, like you load up FIFA and you look, EAFC. You load it up and see those stats and go, oh man, I'm going to kill it with this guy. He hasn't done too much with this team so far. Really hasn't been much. So this team has been depleted. There's still an opportunity to make the playing game. I believe, I don't know if they're in 10th or 11th at this point, but they just lost to, I call the second last place team the Wooden Spork Award. And Nashville is the Wooden Spork, and they ended up beating 2-0 in Atlanta. They scored 8 road goals all season, and they scored 2 in Atlanta. Embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing.
I actually am surprised because I made a bet. I made a 2-game parlay. Inter Miami wins and Nashville wins, and I hit on that. And I was actually surprised that I hit on that. I thought that they would win, but not with 2 goals. I thought it was going to be a bore fest, like 1-0. That surprised me extremely. I mean, I was watching the game. I mean, you guys didn't look awful when I was watching it. I just don't know what the hell happened. There's a guy that I was watching, and it wasn't Rios. I think it was this guy, Marinchuk. He's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of height. Problem is that when you get a really good player like that in the midfield, you need talent around him, right? You need talent to really get it there. And that was a problem even with Almada at some points because Giakoumakis was hurt. I mean, he was really having to do it all at certain points in the season, and it ended up not working out. Now you're facing an Atlanta team that doesn't have a lot going for them. They had a few injuries in the game. on Saturday. We're not really sure. I think everyone's going to be mostly available, but we'll see.
And Solana, I mean, I don't know about you, but we were talking about our delinquency because Mr. Krabs, it says right here, Chris needs to stop betting. He lost money on the El Tráfico. I literally bet mid-game as LAFC was winning. I bet on LAFC. Literally right after I bet, LA Galaxy went on a tear and destroyed my 4-game parlay. I mean, it was awful.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this. I mean, I didn't bet on soccer this weekend because last weekend I had bet on Real Madrid and they destroyed me. I had like a 6-game parlay, and how could Real Madrid of all teams, not win? So I mean, they screwed me. So I avoided all soccer bets this weekend and lost all my football bets. So I don't want to talk about delinquency, on this show because it's not like I lost a lot of money, but I didn't win anything either. Now, the interesting thing was, I don't know if you saw, Chris, but Ricky Puig, and not to get off topic, but Tommy, you might have some interesting conversation with this with us. But Ricky Puig is known for responding to folks on social media, and I don't know if you guys saw, but somebody said how Ricky Puig hasn't showed up in any traffic or whatever, and he responded to somebody today or yesterday, kind of like with a smiley face or something. I just think it's kind of funny that a player, I don't know why he does it. But I think it's kind of funny that he finally kind of, I guess, broke out of his show in El Tráfico, and he's just starts responding to people. I don't know. I don't know what you guys feel about that, but I just thought it was just kind of funny that he's here responding to folks. Like, I don't know. You're a professional. You shouldn't need to be responding to regular folks like that.
I love it. I love when they do that. So Felipe Cardenas, I'm sure you both are well aware of him. He used to be the Atlanta guy. And then when Messi came in, he was like, all right, we're going to talk about Messi a little bit more. But he was talking a lot about the team, and I think it was Andrew Gutman, like soon as Atlanta came back and won their home opener last season, like he tweeted to Felipe. So I don't remember what it was, but it was like, this team, it hasn't been good in years. And like he tweeted him, like he had to like have his phone in his socks. He pulled it out, man, because like I wasn't even out of the stadium and that tweet was already sent to him. It was great. I enjoy that sometimes. Like players with personalities, like long as they're not like, like dirt bags on it, right? But like if they're calling someone out for saying like, oh yeah, this player's crap, he's not going to do anything, and then he goes scores, a brace, respond back. It's fun.
I think it is a fun thing. I really do think when players get in the face and they start putting something, kind of like, hey, I showed up or whatever the case is on social media, I think it's actually pretty interesting. It gives them a little bit of more zing. I mean, that's why, what's his face? Zlatan Ibrahimovic was like so loved but hated at the same time because he's like so in your face and like, I don't care what anybody says kind of feels. Mr. Krabs mentioned here, Tommy, Atlanta fired their coach not long after they beat Inter Miami, so the loss looks worse. I mean, how has that fared since?
I was worried because after we beat Miami, most people wanted Pineda out. It did not work out, right? Assistant coach to Seattle, gets promoted, moves over to Atlanta. The long-term dream of him staying in MLS, right? Let's see it work. It didn't work. And when they beat Miami, I was like, oh man, like this just bought this guy like another 3 months.
Yeah.
And then they end up coming out with the stinker in the next game, and he ends up moving out. And it happens. But then they just got rid of their general manager or their technical director, or whatever you want to call it. They just got rid of Carlos Bocanegra, which is even crazier. Like, so now you have no technical director, you have no manager, one DP.
What do you think about Garth Lagerwey? Do you think he's on his way out as well? Because he's technically the one that's the most responsible. You don't think so?
No. This team has been put in some terrible contract situations by Carlos. The reason why they are where they are is because of him. Now, I don't think there was going to be an entire sell fest, right? Like they were going to go and sell everybody. But I think it kind of worked out because Giakoumakis, you look at him, and he was second in the Golden Boot last season. Great. Comes in this season. Now, he had a lot of injury issues last year. If he wasn't injured, he probably wins the Golden Boot. But he missed a lot of games, missing a game here, 2 games there. But then this season, he starts off injured again. and somebody comes and offers you, a profit, you take it. You take a guy that is injured. And like he got injured like in his first appearance. It was something minor when he leaves. But I mean, it's been just meh.
Well, you know what else is meh is this talk that's going to be coming up. Soccer Daddy saying starting lineup. I want Ustadi for next match. We'll talk a little bit about starting lineups, but I kind of want to transition smoothly into the GM talk. Because Tommy, you had mentioned that, and Thomas is asking here, ask Tommy what he thinks about Chris Henderson might become their GM. We brought this up a couple episodes ago where there's been some flirting out there or some reporters speaking about this being one of the better, if not perfect, landing jobs for Chris Henderson. Chris Henderson, the work that he's done for Inter Miami, with us being under sanctions as well, has been spectacular, right? I don't know if he was responsible for the Messi signing, but whatever pieces he placed around and put in their a specific place, he was able to make the money work in every way, shape, or form. So for him to find a challenge, I mean, before we get your thoughts, Tommy Solana, I mean, what do you think about the work that Chris Henderson's done? I mean, do you see him at some point maybe making the move?
We've talked about it. I think it was last week we talked about it, Chris. And look,
Yeah.
I think Chris Henderson, I agree with you 100%. He's been extremely key for Inter Miami, especially, working his way through the sanctions, getting rid of some players, bringing in other players. And then, of course, he might not be the key person in identifying some of these, hidden talents in South America, like, we have in Diego Gomez and Matias Rojas. But where he's been really good is like we said, he understands the league. He understands the rules. He understands the insides and outs. And so he's kind of like a cap genius or, something of a genius in terms of he knows how to put it together a roster that can compete. And I think he's primarily responsible for the depth that Inter Miami has created this season. Maybe not for exactly bringing in star players, but for the depth that they have today, I think he is primarily responsible for that. Now, if he chooses to move on, like I said last week, Chris, if he chooses to move on, for me, it's more of an ego thing. It's more of a, I want to have my imprint on this team. And, this is a team that won because we know now that they brought the Barcelona guy over, we don't know if, there never really was a clarification in terms of what his job was going to continue being. And you and I discussed it, Chris and Tommy. I want you to chime in, but we said last week, could they have brought in this Barcelona guy and Chris Henderson is just spewing all sorts of knowledge to train this guy, and then they're okay with letting him go at the end of the season? Now, I do agree with all the pundits and all the folks that are saying that if there is a perfect landing spot for Chris Henderson, it is Atlanta. And the reason is because they've shown that they can put together a great fan base. They have an owner who's willing to spend if it's spent correctly. And we've seen that. He spent on Almada, he spent on Almiron and other great players. And again, I think with the knowledge that Chris Henderson has, he would make Atlanta a contender again.
He can make it work. What do you think, Tommy?
Well, I've heard stories about Chris Henderson and how that all, I don't know if it's a demotion. Do you call it a demotion?
I don't even know yet. I mean, he lost his office, but like reportedly, there's been nothing. I don't know if he's sharing his office. I hope so. Probably the red one.
Did they office space him? Like, did they put him in the basement? Like,
I think they did.
I think people take that personal. You know what I mean? Like, if he's there for the glory of obviously getting a championship, which they would give it to him anyways, right? Like, if he leaves. Say they let Atlanta interview him next week and he goes and takes the job. Like, he's going to get credit for helping build this team, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So I guess the question that I have, and I don't know MLS rules, but like Atlanta needs someone now. Now, Garth Lagerwey is a great general manager. He's the president now. He's not the general manager. But now he is the general manager because they have nobody else in that spot. Like, you want to get players or you want to get personnel in there as soon as possible. So my question is, and this happened with Gonzalo Pineda, they obviously went to Seattle and said, can we interview him to be the manager? And they did. And then, he comes on here. So can Atlanta reach out to Miami and say, can we talk to Chris? see what's going on, court him, maybe get him off your books, right? Because I mean, I'm sure he's making a decent salary over there himself, and
Mhm.
we'll have him as our general manager. And Garth and Henderson have a relationship already. They know each other. So I'm sure he's looking for someone he's comfortable with that knows MLS. He said specifically he's looking for someone that has MLS knowledge or salary cap knowledge, and that it fits perfectly.
Now I want to know how many players, right? And one of the things I guess that he's been able to do is to bring players that can sort of piece around the bigger names, and not only that, but to be able to sort of help with the salary cap. It's like you said, Solana. He's making these big changes to be able to save a lot of money, to be able to make the money work. But with that being said, right, we have a ton of injuries happening right now. Somebody and Thomas says right here they put Chris Henderson in the same basement that Solana's in right now. And just so everybody knows, and just so Danny, I mean, since you're watching, Danny, Solana is looking at a TV screen where we are at. He has no computer screen in front of him. He has a standing camera with a television with our faces on it. So
You have pants on?
I do. You want me to stand up?
No, I mean I don't. So that's why I just wanted to see what the status of someone else was.
of the
so.
of the,
Yeah,
of the
I-
pants situation.
I'm not shy. I mean, you want me to stand up? I'll stand up. It's all good.
I mean, at this point, we've already taken it far. Just stand up. I want to see if you do truly have pants at this point.
Of course, I got
And he
pants
does
on,
have pants. Yes, pants.
Of course.
Confirmed.
Hey,
Now,
legit, I would do the show outside if I could, but it's freezing out there. It's freezing, so I can't go
Freezing?
do it outside.
Oh
Yeah,
my
man,
goodness.
it's finishing the winter in Uruguay, where it's opposite seasons here.
Much appreciated, Soccer Daddy. If everybody wants to, you can donate $1 for Solana laptop, or you could just, click the like button, and of course subscribe if you haven't done so. Now, guys, and Tommy, how many guys are you going to be missing for this game? Because we're going to be missing at least 8 players.
So I mentioned a few injuries that happened in the previous game. Amador was a big one. He got taken out for possible concussion. He returned
Yeah.
to practice. They don't have a lot of left back depth because Caleb Wiley's gone. He was the Caleb Wiley replacement, and Ronald Hernandez I think is still injured. So, but I think he's going to end up playing. So that's good. Derek Williams, who's obviously an MLS defender, been around everywhere. He had some cramps. He should be back. The only one that's questionable is at the wing on the left, Sean De Silva, who scored a goal against you guys in Atlanta last year. But he's been real bad. He's been, I guess, nursing a foot injury for all season.
Yeah.
And they kind of just announced it, which was making fans upset because he was out early in the year. Then they came back and said, yeah, he's still struggling. He got taken out real early. We have no real depth at wing. So one of our only U22 that's still here will likely start Edwin Mascara, and he's been trash this year.
Yeah. Oof. That sounds like it's gonna be pleasing. Amanda in the comment section with a super slam 199. Thank you so much. That's gonna go
Do you
straight.
have like a sound effect when that happens, like the horn, the DJ horn, or
No, we do not have a DJ horn. I unfortunately.
I'll tell you. Hey, if we make more enough money to cover the repair of my laptop screen, I'll donate the rest to Tommy's gummy fund.
Sweet.
Ooh, that sounds like a plan. Let me get a couple gummies too. Now, Solana, Danny and I were talking a little bit earlier about what we think the projected starting 11 is going to be, because it's going to be funky monkey. And somebody in the comments, John Paul Terraza, says 8-9 who? I was just about to go through the list, but Danny beat me to the punch in the comments. Look, Messi's probably not going to play. It's not grass, it's turf. Suarez is not going to play.
Just 1 second. I keep hearing about this, but then I see the responses back that he's played on turf like multiple times this year, right?
I mean, as far as I know, he played, I think maybe twice on turf this year.
You're muted.
Hold on, Solana, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I
I
was
think
saying.
it's
I think
good
he
to Memphis.
played. I think he played last year against Charlotte on turf.
He did play
But
against Charlotte on turf.
I don't remember. Many games. I'd have to go back and double check. While you guys chat, I'll go back and check.
So go ahead,
So he
Tommy. You
does
were
play on
finishing up.
turf.
Yeah, I mean, look, he does, I guess, right? And I'm pretty sure he's played on it. Look, he's an athlete, he's a competitor, but the problem isn't just Messi missing. Suarez is going to miss. Gomez tweaked the hamstring. Aviles yellow card accumulation. Busquets yellow card accumulation. Noah Allen with some sort of concussion. Alfonso also injured. Martinez injured. Freire injured. I mean, I could just keep going. I mean, we got Facundo Farias injured. Matias Rojas, as far as I know, still injured. So, and then I mean, even if you want to reach into the end of the bucket, we can go over to the Haitian Haaland. Where's he? He's playing for like a USL team at this moment, right? So we really have like freaking bare bones lineup. And Danny and I were talking. I'm going to show Danny's lineup first. So right here we have the projected 11. He's got a 4-3-3 setup as Solana shakes his head. And I'll put myself in the middle just so you guys can be able to kind of look at it. So we got up top, Taylor left wing, Gressel right wing, Campana as our lone striker. We got Kremaki over on the left mid, Redondo on the right mid, Bright playing CDM. And then you got Alba left back, Weigant right back, Christoph and Ferre as our center backs. And then you got Calendar in between the pipes. Now, the only difference with Danny's lineup versus mine's is I ended up saying that Sailor is going to be playing instead of Frey, which Danny has. And the only reason I say that is because I don't know if Tata is willing to put Frey as a center back, especially if we're playing on turf. I think that he's fit into this like backup right back role, unfortunately. My heart wants him to play, but my gut tells me that Sailor's going to play. Now, this is also a starting 11 that we considered with Negri starting at left back in case Jordi Alba decides 3 of the 4 Barca boys aren't going, and I'm not going either. And that would be awful for Atlanta fans to experience. Now, before I jump over to you, Tommy, what do you think about these lineups, Solana, and what do you project that is going to be the starting 11?
And as far as the midfield and the forwards go, I'm fine with it. I mean, I have no issues with Gressel playing right wing. I think we've seen him excel in that position with Inter Miami. At least where we've seen him there, he's played better than in the midfield. Obviously, bringing Bright back into the mix. He had a great stretch of games playing the 5, so he's going to be great in the midfield. Tearing up the plays in the midfield and recovering the balls. Obviously, we love to see the home, the homeboy Ben Krem in the game. And this could be a good game for him to get some minutes and kind of get back into game shape. He's been playing as a sub for as long as I can remember. I think if Inter Miami is going to make a deep run, then we need these players to get some more minutes. Like Kremashi, maybe even David Ruiz is, we can see him in the game. But where I'm, really concerned is, and right where I'm going, Chris, is that starting 4 in the back. It's got to be Frey and Sailor. Get Christoph out of there. Get Christoph out of there because he's just too slow, man. He's just too slow. And look, Ryan Sailor scored a goal this weekend. He's been getting minutes with Inter Miami too. Give him some time, Tata. Give him some time, man. The minutes that he got to play with the first team, he played okay. Give him some time.
Now, what do you think about that idea? Now, just there's a lot of people that are asking in the comments and saying if Frey doesn't play, I'm going to be sad. Tata hates Frey. People are asking Ustadi to play over Calendar.
Well, I have an issue with that, Chris. How come when CJ Dos Santos was the backup and you and I were asking for CJ Dos Santos to have some minutes, folks were having issues with that? All of a sudden, we sign an Argentinian guy, and what? Because he's Argentinian and he's Messi's friend, they want him to play? Really? Get out of here, man! Give me CJ Dos Santos.
Yeah. I mean, it's and Tommy one time is in full agreement.
Absolutely, the gummy kicked in.
Yes. Now, people are questioning us by saying Gomez, Rojas. Upcode is asking. Gomez is pure speculation. Rojas was listed injured for the last game, if I'm not mistaken. And then Luis Suarez is also a pure speculation. Uh, I don't expect for the Barca boys to be playing. Tommy, what do you think about these projected 11s and the fact that Messi might not play along with either Luis Suarez and or Jordi Alba?
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's great. It's great for Atlanta. I mean, you just pulled off one of your worst performances at home.
Yeah.
Their manager dropped an F-bomb at the press conference and said this is never going to happen again.
Yeah.
I don't care who is in this lineup. These guys are playing for jobs, right? When you get new management in, and I said this last week, and I said there was no way they were losing to Nashville, so I'm going to look like a total ass here when I'm talking them up here, right? But I think that they have to come out strong here. They've got some weird wins this season. The Miami one is obviously a big one. Columbus at home. Columbus comes to Atlanta. They beat them there. It's just been some real weird wins for Atlanta. I don't. You talk about gambling. I don't touch Atlanta United. I haven't touched them for a while because I don't know what team is showing up here. Right. One minute they could look great, and then the next
they beat Miami.
The worst team. They're the worst team in the league.
Yeah,
they are. They could at points they look like the worst team, which is just crazy from where they started and where they've gone. But now you know why they literally don't have anybody in the front office.
Well, it's a weird place to be in, and I'll let this comment sit there. Mr. Krabs is saying Danny is scared of Tommy one time, while Danny mentions here Atlanta just lost to Trashville. We're going to dick kick them. Nice hat there, by the way, Tommy.
You gave it to me.
Yes, in a sketchy parking lot.
And Danny was wondering what name you had on the back of your jersey, Tommy.
Oh, my kids got this for me. It's my name.
There you go. There you go, Danny.
That's nice.
He had asked at the beginning of the show, I wonder what name Tommy's got on the back of his jersey. So there you go, Danny. Got that question.
Danny and I are 1-1 against each other in Madden. He whooped me the first time, but then
we got to play each other. Yeah, of course he plays with the Jets. He's freaking awful.
I would dick him every time he plays with the Jets.
We need to play some FIFA, Tommy.
FIFA, man, whatever. We'll play.
Well, I want to talk a little bit before we get to the predictions. Look, Atlanta, as far as everybody is aware, hasn't been doing that great, but you guys are sticking around in the race. You guys are sitting at 31 points in 10th place, only behind DC United by 2 points in the 9th spot. And then you have Toronto, that's 5 points ahead of you. Your team actually has about 6 games ahead of you, including ours, right? And then after that, you got the Red Bulls, you got Philly, you got Montreal, you got the Red Bulls again. And then you finish off with Orlando City, who is on fire right now. Do you guys expect to be in the race, at least in the 9th spot?
I thought they were going to beat Nashville, so that's why I thought that they had an opportunity to do it. I also think they had I said this even before the entire thing, that I thought there was a very good chance that they could beat Miami because we were going to be in this exact situation that we're talking about, right? That it's, that we're you're going to be sitting everybody and we're going to be playing everyone. But here we are. It's a tough schedule. I mean, Montreal is the only one I can see them potentially having a good chance. The Red Bulls play everyone hard, right? And they're back, right? The Red Bulls are back. Orlando's, obviously up and coming. I mean, you have to win this game, right? I mean, they say you have to win all your home games in MLS. Okay. So you didn't win it that last one. You got to win this one. You got to win Montreal, and then you got to win one of the Red Bulls games.
There's a question here being asked of you by Hazel Lopez. Shout out to Hazel, long time. He's asking, time of prediction, who wins the MLS Cup?
I mean, I don't really know if it's a hot take. I don't really have a hot take one, but I'm hoping that the final, the conference final, is really the final, because I think that's really what it is. And I hope that it's Miami, and I hope it's Columbus. Right. I know I'm here in Ohio, and That's what makes, it's cool to go to those games. But I think that it is, when in this type of league, I think you need to have your best matchups, right? It's best for the league, right? It's great for Miami to be in the in at least the conference final, right? Because it's the big names, right? You need to sell this product as much as you can. Columbus, obviously, is just a crazy story about how they saved the team. They won the championship. And then I was just at the Leagues Cup final. I mean, that town's legit on what they want. And that's what you want. And whoever wins that ends up winning MLS Cup. With that, I say Columbus.
That's shit. I mean, I'm going to say, of course, Inter Miami, because this is a damn Inter Miami podcast, but that would be a hell of a matchup. It's going to grab a lot of eyes for sure. And Mez is asking, Solana, are you drinking?
Yeah, I put in the chat there. I'm having a nice cold Uruguayan beer. Why not? Having a nice night with the boys. When in Rome.
When in Rome, baby. All right, so let's get to predictions then. Let's talk a little bit about what we think is going to be the ending in terms of the score. I'm going to go ahead and go to you first, Solana. What do you think the prediction is going to be? We're playing against Atlanta this Wednesday. What do you think what do you think the score is going to be?
Well, first, I mean, I just want to, exactly. I was going, Chris, you and I are on, I might be in Uruguay, but we are here. We are here.
Yes, we're here.
Only 27 likes, guys. Just like Chris says, free 99, take the thumb, just give it a little like.
Take other body parts, hit the like button, whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's right. Even if you're not wearing pants, hit the like button. No worries. I'm going to be, a little negative. I think the fact that they're going to be missing 8 to 9 players, the fact that you're going to have two guys, probably two new guys starting together for the first time in the back four, I think it's going to be a little bit tough for Inter Miami to pull out a win. I think I'm going to go 1-1 draw.
Borfest.org. That sounds like an awful game. I'll go ahead and I'll exaggerate. This is the game for Campana to be prime Campana. And for all of you that have been asking for Campana, big game Campana, the same crowd that probably loves Tua for his quarterbackness, right? For those of you that have been we'll see, because he doesn't even want to retire, really. So that's another deal to begin with.
He still thinks he's on the field right now.
He's got a contract. He's got a contract to live out. He's not going to get paid. I mean,
he could literally Allen Houston the Miami Dolphins at this point.
Yeah.
But before we talk about the egg ball, I think that this is the game for Campana, and I see Campana going for a brace. We're going to win 3-1 at Atlanta. Super disrespectful prediction.
That's the third week in a row that you predict 3-1, by the way.
Yeah. And we hit the last one.
We did.
We hit the last one.
I hope hit. I hope you hit, not me.
Yeah. And Danny Granada, he's going with a 2-2 draw. You're awful. Stay home. Okay.
Stay in Orlando. Yeah.
Dennis Lopez says 2-0 Christoph Brace. Upcode agrees with me. Says 3-1 Miami. Soccer Daddy says 6-0 Atlanta. And then 4-3 Taylor Brace Miami. I was going to go with a Taylor Brace, but this is the Campana game. This is the game where he has to go balls to the wall. And Joe Rako says 2-1 for Atlanta. We lost in the last minute counterattack. And now we follow it up with you. Last but not least, Tommy, one time, what do you think what's your prediction going to be for the score?
I gave this prediction on our show before. I can't believe I'm saying this after the shit that I watched on Saturday. We made it even worse as, we do spaces after it, and I wasn't going to be home. So I'm in the middle of a cornfield. Got the game on my phone because it's like go through a cornfield, drink wine, all of this. I'm keeping my eye on this. I'm like, why am I even doing this? This is the worst soccer I've watched all year. And here I was watching it. I'm a glutton for punishment. However, Atlanta United is winning 3-1.
Putting the hat right back on. I actually
he changed. This guy thinks it's signing day or something. He was trying to fool us all.
Join the transfer portal real quick.
I could see really any of these predictions panning out, because this kind of game, with the amount of players that are going to be missing, whether it's on injury or whatever the case is, it's going to be a beautifully awful game. That's what I think. But aside from that, I mean, Code, I think you're on the money. Tommy's gummy kicked in.
The people
Maybe
on
not
our show
yet.
said I was on gummies too.
Yeah, I mean,
when I predicted the prediction, it makes sense.
I mean, and then
hey, and you know what?
Dennis.
No, Dennis. No, I'm jumping in here. Dennis, I said Miami was going to win the last time they played. There was I didn't call an upset. I said it was going to be embarrassing what Miami was going to do to Atlanta, and we got the exact opposite. So, no, I call it the way I see it. I just get a feeling here that Miami is going to be kind of taking it in. I do have a gap in my. Geez, Mr. Krabs talking about gaps in my teeth.
No,
Okay.
no, Mr. Krabs the most noticeable person. He notices everything.
He's probably got a unibrow.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And
Hot
then
take?
we got
very well. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't win a single game until the end of the season.
I mean,
they gotta be Joseph they gotta be Joseph in Montreal. They have to.
They have to be Joseph in Montreal. I feel like they can be able to beat one of the two Red Bull games. And Philly is that's negotiable there. I do see at least 2 wins out of the next 6. So
they also need DC to drop some points. And so you got to look at their schedule and stuff too. But I, if I were an Atlanta United fan, I would be confident in at least making the 9th spot, because I don't see DC, winning out or anything like that. So as long as they drop a game and you guys can win a few, I see no reason why you guys can make the 9th spot.
Philadelphia has a very hard schedule as well.
Yes, of course.
They've got a real hard schedule. That was the main one that I was looking at and saying, okay, who could turn it around all of a sudden? Because I want to ask you both this. So obviously, whoever wins the play-in game has to play you in a best of 3. I said that there's only one team. I mean, obviously, I think if Philadelphia gets in, I mean, that's not an easy out. I mean, obviously, they've had a bad season. But I said, I think you'd want to avoid Atlanta as much as you can. And it's more just because, yeah, I know it's best of 3. Atlanta's not winning that. But you want to avoid bringing all your guys to Atlanta, right? And playing on the turf. I think you try to avoid that as much as you can. And they've had luck against them lately, right? Like, there's just always that weird thing in sports where, like, there's a team that you just can't solve for whatever reason, right? And I highly doubt that it's a scenario in a best of 3. However, they do have a history. So you don't want to have to go back and play that. But either way, you guys are going to win a 1 versus 8 seed here, right? Like, I don't understand why these sports are making these games. It's like the honor to get your ass kicked, right? Like, you have this play-in tournament now in the NBA, and it's like, all right, who's gonna lose to the number 1 seed? Who's gonna lose to the number 2 seed? Like, it's just they're making it an honor to get your ass kicked somewhere else. It's
first
weird.
round,
right? It's just for money. It's just for extra money and extra games.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think the addition of a 3rd game is an absolute joke. I mean, I was okay with a home and home, but adding a 3rd game is it's a money grab. It's a money grab. So for all of you that didn't watch the League Cup because it was a money grab, I expect you to not watch the 3rd playoff game if they play one.
This guy with League Cup and tickets and ratings and oh man.
Well, Danny with his knowledge of sports says he won the playoffs and then eliminated the Bucks. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's cool when it happens for sure.
They went to the finals.
Yes, they did. We're gonna finish off with this. Amanda's asking, ask Tommy if the Beatles are the greatest rock band of all time, or are they overrated?
I love the Beatles. I don't think they're the greatest of all time. I mean, that honors for Blink-182. But I will say, I heard you ask that on Battered MLS, and
yeah,
I think there was a couple people that said they were overrated.
I think that they're super overrated.
Oh no,
I think that they're. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying that they're overrated considering the people that were making music around that same time. Like they do have a lot of hits. Yeah, they were.
They were the Backstreet Boys back then. They were Hanson back then. They were Chumbawamba. Like there were all these bands back then. That was it.
Well, I mean, it helps when you're making music around a bunch of guys that do the doo-wop, right? And then you decide to have bands and decide to have people playing instruments and stuff like that helps out a lot. I just think that they're kind of overrated. That's all. They have a really good catalog. They have good music. I just think that if you put them in because they did really blow up in the 60s and in the beginning of the 70s. After that, they started spanning out into their little solo careers, which there's people that say their solo careers were better than their group careers. But I mean, I digress. I feel like I'm going to send us down on a spiral here.
Remember the Monkees?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm more of a Queen. I like Queen, man. I'm a Queen fan.
Oh yeah, I got the opportunity to see him. It was with Adam Lambert, but still, it was a great show.
Me too. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Danny, they created the genre and they broke up in 1970. You have no right to talk anymore. Okay, you're blocked. You're blocked from commenting. You're done. Tommy, there's a game tonight going on. Any last words before we write out?
I know. I've been multitasking.
And so, and go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, well, Dennis is telling me to lay off the ragweed. I don't buy Reggie's. I don't buy Regs anymore. Okay, that's a long time ago. Maybe back in the days when I used to get bags of Shake for like $10. Any last words, Tommy?
I miss you, Danny. I was all excited. Solana, I wasn't expecting you, but episode 98, that was me. And now being on a special 250th episode. Thank you. Ooh, there's been some good band questions in here. Tommy, Weezer or Green Day? I actually just saw Green Day last weekend.
How was that? Really?
It was good, yeah. I drove down to Columbus and I was hanging out. It was Columbus and Seattle before that whole no keeper on the bench thing went down. I was partying with the crew supporters. But yeah, it's
Mike
Weezer.
B, no way. Elvis over the Beatles?
But that's the thing, dude. That's why I'm saying Elvis is gonna get it because he was making music around times where there was like 5 or 6 other artists making music.
Yeah, but it's a different genre altogether. I mean, the Beatles are more like, I don't know, like rock and roll, and Elvis is just a different type of rock and I don't know, man. He was a solo artist too. I don't know. I got one question for Tommy before we go off, but Mike B loves to Tata out us every single show. Tommy, if Tata were to want to come back to Atlanta, are you taking him back?
I think you have to. I think. I mean, he left because, he said he wanted a less grueling schedule. And then he comes back for this Miami gig, which I think anybody comes back at it, because of the opportunity that you have now here. I mean, someone put there earlier that Tata was really the general manager of Atlanta. And I would say a lot of it was, probably 70-30. I think is a good number to give there because, I mean, obviously he was able to get some of these players to come. Miguel Almiron was one of them. If it wasn't for Tata, he wouldn't be there. And yeah, he's really good at that. Now he's stubborn. I think we've talked about that before. He's very stubborn on what he does. But man, I mean, the year they won the championship was because of the things that he changed in the playoffs. Because they were a very possession team there. Then they became a counter team. And they ended up winning the championship on that. So, I mean, he made some huge changes because they weren't good against. They had to go through both New Yorks at that time. They had to go to it was the best of 2 then. They had to go to Yankee Stadium, right? They won there, and then they never beat the Red Bulls before, and then they end up going to beat the Red Bulls. I mean, he's a legend here, and they've really, besides Frank DeBoer, who was there for a year and a couple games. They haven't had it. So I think for Atlanta fans, they would say, sure, let's bring him back.
That's a great answer. And I think it's a responsible answer for all the Tata out haters. One more time.
I understand why he's frustrating. Oh, Limp Bizkit. Limp fucking Biscuit.
100%.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah,
he breaks stuff, right?
Now, what if I
saw what he
looks
like now? He looks like Colonel Sanders. Like, if you haven't seen what Limp Bizkit looks like now, after this, Google, whoever's listening to this, go look to see what he looks like. He looks like Colonel Sanders. I don't know what happened to him.
Well, I mean, I'm picking Limp Bizkit as well. Even though Korn has a couple really good songs, one of their albums had a lot of good songs as well. But yeah, I'd go with Limp Bizkit over a lot of time. They've made really good music. So
I think I'd go
absolutely.
Incubus over both of those, but that's me.
Incubus. Ugh.
Wow. I would actually go Linkin Park.
Ooh, Linkin Park's a good one.
Linkin
Man,
Park.
you like the
we could
girl
have
singer?
a show just talking about music.
Yeah, there is a girl singer.
Yeah, now they have a girl singer, and I saw she actually sings pretty well.
Yeah, she was rocking out with her cock out for sure.
Yeah, oh man, Goo Goo Dolls over Incubus. I agree. I'm a bit. That's like one of my guilty pleasures. Everclear and the Goo Goo Dolls.
Wow. Okay.
And
Mike V.
Everclear the drink or Everclear the band?
Everclear the band.
Oh, I was gonna say Everclear is taking me back to my high school days. Little Everclear,
I think
Hypnotic.
I think, guys, for those of you that are watching, if you guys haven't liked this content of soccer plus music talk, like you guys need to stick this thumb up. You know what? Okay, so do us a favor. Tap it. It's free 99. Before we head out, Solana, any last words before we start talking Spanish in about an hour or in 30 minutes?
No, man, I've been talking Spanish since Thursday, since I got here. So I'm ready to go. You know, I'm loving being here, loving joining you guys. Tommy, finally we got to get on a show together. It's been a blast. Next time, maybe if you send me a gummy, I'll take one with you. I don't know. You know, I don't know what the reaction is going to be, but let's see. I mean, people have seen Solana on whiskey, now Solana on beer, but we've never seen Solana on a gummy. So I don't know, man. We'll see. Maybe in episode 300, we'll do it.
Ooh, okay. You know, my son got accused of cheating in Spanish.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, and I don't remember what it was. I think he was like, it was something like put the Spanish word for brother or sister, and somehow they accused him of like doing Google Translator, which I would have absolutely done. I failed Spanish 2 twice. No, once. I failed it once, and I passed it the second time. My final project was doing the entire South Park scene in Spanish.
That's cool.
That'd be great. That's gotta be great.
Hermano, hermana. That's brother, sister. Hermano, hermana.
Oh, best part was the teacher loved it. He's writing this email while we're at dinner. And he's like, yeah, I got accused of cheating. I'm like, did you email the teacher, explain the situation? No. And he starts writing it. And I go, wait, before you start the email with hola. Start it with hola.
That's perfect.
He sends the email. And then he comes back to me like 2 days later. He's like, first thing the teacher said in the email was, I'm glad you started off with hola. That's me.
That's perfect. Great.
I made
great
him.
timing.
I'm saving his Spanish grade.
That was great timing. That was a good punctuation right there. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening online on audio. For those of you that are listening on whatever audio platform it is, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, put a comment up there and say, Danny,
LimeWire.
LimeWire. That's right. Whatever your taste is, just put down like a comments. Yeah. Oof. What was it? The other one that you said, Solana? Solana, you said
remember Kazaa?
Oh,
Kazaa. Yeah, that's a good one.
Wow. Guys, put a comment up and say, Danny, you're a piece of shit. And look at Danny. He's just throwing like stupid questions up here. Danny,
because you took a picture of me eating pizza with a fork. The pizza was melting. You got like a million things on it. It was slippery.
That's unforgivable. Unforgivable.
I'm with Tommy on that one, man. I told you this, Chris, last week. If I get a pizza and that thing is steaming hot, I'm not talking about Domino's. I'm talking about I go to like a restaurant and they give me a pizza. It's steaming hot. I'm not gonna take that with my hands. I'm gonna cut it with a fork and knife and let it cool off. Maybe blow it on a little bit. Then I'm gonna eat. Gotta be classy, guys.
Nah, man. Fork and knife with pizza. You guys are a disaster. And for those of you that are for those of you in the chat, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. You guys that sat here live with us are the best part of the show. Thank you guys for commenting. And here we go with a comeback for Tommy one time.
Is that Jaime Jaquez?
That's Seth freaking Rollins, baby.
Seth Rollins.
No, I know. It looks exactly like Jaime Jaquez.
You didn't know.
Of course I do. Seth freaking Rollins. Burn it down.
Burn it down,
he's
guys.
Wasted. He's wasted over there.
Yeah, he's long gone. I'm hoping he's going to be active in 30 minutes because my Spanish is no bueno on Mondays. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Much appreciated. Episode 250. Until the next one, have a good one, guys.
Ay, caramba.